always have two screens going. So you might see me kind of look over. We are live streaming from Zoom right now, so that's where some of the technical difficulties came from. So, okay, so we can see both, we can hear both of us. All right, thank you all so much for joining. If you're just logging on, please go ahead and come in the comments, tell us your first name, where you're from, and what questions you might want to be addressed today, and we will address some questions at the end. So first, I will start by introducing myself. I'm Angel Mills. I am a brand strategist living in Metro Atlanta. I run a meetup group called Atlanta Business Strategy, where we were meeting monthly in person prior to current circumstances, but we basically meet monthly to talk about different areas of business, how we can grow as business owners. I am an entrepreneur as well, and through my business, Angel Mills Brand Strategy, I work with small business owners. I help them with strategic services, education, and coaching. So if you are interested in joining Atlanta Business Strategy, I believe I put the link in the description. If not, I will edit it while Yohan is going through his presentation today. So you all are welcome to join our group, but because you registered today, you are officially on our email list, so you'll be getting information moving forward. We have moved all of our meetups online, so we will continue to meet. We'll just be meeting online now. So if you live in Metro Atlanta, folks may be from anywhere. That's the cool thing about being online. We're able to open up this community to being more than just like within our respective city. But if you have come to one of our in-person meetups, then you may have met Yohan before. He is a CPA and accountant here in Metro Atlanta. He's spoken to our group a couple of times. Most recently in January, he came and talked about taxes and preparing for tax season and different things around deductions that entrepreneurs qualify for. Now, of course, things have changed so much recently with COVID happening and so many of us being in quarantine right now. I really hope everyone is doing well and just trying to stay positive during this time. I really wanted to reach out to Yohan again to come and talk to us about some of the new financial changes that are happening as a result of this. I'm sure we all have heard about the $2 trillion stimulus plan that the government has recently passed that will distribute a lot of funds to entrepreneurs, to private citizens, all of those things. So Yohan is here to talk to us today. He has a presentation to share with us, which I am. So just so you guys know, this is our first time streaming from Zoom to YouTube. So bear with us. This might not go so smoothly, but we're going to try to do our best to make sure it goes right. So Yohan has a presentation he's going to share. He'll tell you more about himself, and then we will do questions at the end. Awesome. So, and did anyone... Okay, so while he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and tell our other friends who haven't joined us, I'm going to shoot out a text to those people to come on board and let them know that we are live and ready to go. So Yohan, let's see. I believe you should be able to share. Do I need to give you permission to do that?
Let me try.
Okay, let's make sure you can share your presentation.
No, I don't have permission, so you need to give me permission.
Okay, one second. Okay, so I'm switching over the hosting to you, so you should be able to share now. You'll have the hosting capability.
Okay. Okay, can we get confirmation that everybody can see the presentation? Because I'm currently sharing my screen.
Yep, so can folks let us know if you're able to see his presentation? I do believe there's a little bit of a delay between Zoom and YouTube. So I have the YouTube up now. So it looks like we can see your presentation, and you can make it full screen if you'd like. And it's just a couple seconds delay. Yeah. All righty, so looks like we're all set. Yohan, I'll go ahead and pass the reins over to you.
Okay, thank you, Angel, and good evening to everybody joining us online. It still feels a little surreal, the events that we've been experiencing for the past couple of weeks, but I truly believe we're going to pull through all of it. I'm extremely positive about the eventual outcome. But as much as we can, we need to follow directives as far as staying safe, as far as social distancing, as far as making sure that we stay healthy, wash our hands, pay attention to what we touch, what we don't touch. All those small things, they are extremely important. And I truly believe that's the only way we are going to pull out of this terrible, terrible situation that we're in. So in regard to that, so just to give you a lot of background how this whole presentation came about, like Andrew mentioned, we worked together before. I made a couple of presentations to her group before. So she approached me with the idea of, sharing my knowledge regarding the very recent changes to all the legislation, as well as the choices that the government made to assist all anybody in the U.S. To pull through the financial struggle that they're experiencing because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I went ahead and did a lot of research. I went ahead and attended any seminar that I can find on the topic, and essentially piggybacking on my business, financial, and professional knowledge, I came up with this presentation. So everything that I'm going to share with you is essentially information that I've pulled through from official sources, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, for instance. Large accounting firm would tend to give good summaries of any recent tax-related legislation. And I truly, truly hope that it's going to be informative. As much as possible, I'm going to cover every single point in my presentation, and I hope to reserve right about 30 to 25 minutes to answer as many questions as I can. So that's the plan for today. And just to give you a little background about myself, I've been a business accountant since I graduated from college, essentially. And then I passed my CPA in 2013, and I've been operating my CPA firm roughly for the past 5 years. I'm based in Atlanta, and I'm reachable by many means, whether it's phone, my website, MINSILITax.com, or even on IG, at MINSILI CPA LLC. That's my IG handle. And I typically work with small business owners as well as individuals and families, making sure that I provide advice on how to run the business, on how to improve their processes, as well as prepare the business return, whether it's your Schedule C, your partnership return, your 1120S, and the 1040s as well. So that's really my background, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. And by all means, please go ahead and prepare your questions, any comments that you may have, anything that you've heard regarding the COVID-19 rescue package. I hope I will be able to answer all those questions tonight. So this evening, we already went over the personal introduction, and I think most of the people already know Angel. If not, please make sure you reach out to her and find out how you can join her meetup group. They are very efficient at what they do. And I'm not going to go through the topic that I'm going to be presenting tonight, essentially give you what's in scope and what's out of scope. And then Angel is going to give a quick overview regarding consumer buying trends. Then I will share a timeline that I researched just for everybody to understand how do we get to the point where we are today. How do we get to the situation where we are today, where everybody is pretty much required to stay home, pretty much required to social distance. All the freelancer and self-employed of the dynamic economy that we were in for the past 6 months are now essentially scrambling for other ways to make ends meet. So how do we get here? And I will give a quick overview of the CARE Act, which is the Coronavirus Act that was passed on March 27. And then I will go over the individual provision of the Act, as well as I will spend some time on the cash payment, which is a very popular topic. And also, finally, I will go over the SBA loan provision that was made available as part of the Act. So this is about me, and I went through a lot of those details already. Nothing really major to add to that. Tonight, what's in scope? So the CARE Act, it will be our main topic, and as part of the CARE Act, we'll be talking about the individual stimulus check payment. And so we're going to cover the Small Business Administration and the loan facility that they have made available to help small business owners. We're also going to cover some of the consumer protection items that were included in the CARE Act, making sure that family and individual and small business owner have the government on their side when it comes to handle different agencies, when it comes to handle banks, landlords, things of that nature. What is out of scope will be really what I'll describe as the big guys item, right? So your C corporation, your C corporation EMT, payroll, deferral options, the annual carrybacks, the bank regulation provision. All those, although they are relevant to this audience, I don't believe they are relevant. Most of the people that are listening right now are individual, family, and small business owners. So I want to focus on the information that is most relevant to them for this evening. So the timeline, it was just January, a couple of weeks ago. On the 21st, the U.S. government announced the first confirmed case in the Washington state area. February 11, the disease is given the name COVID-19. Starting February 24th, the stock market started plummeting over the coronavirus fear. March 6th, the U.S. president signed the first $8.3 billion emergency package. Essentially, this package was designed to help combat the disease both in the U.S. and abroad. And March 8th, the number of confirmed cases in the U.S. topped 500. Then we move forward, and March 11, the World Health Organization declared a pandemic, essentially confirming that there's an outbreak of a serious disease all over the world. March 13, the U.S. president declared a national state of emergency, and that declaration essentially allowed the U.S. government to free up to $50 billion, helping fight the pandemic. March 16, today is April 2nd, that was barely 2 weeks ago, just to give you a little bit of perspective. The president of the U.S. strongly advised gathering of 10 people or more to be canceled. And March 18, the Family First Coronavirus Response Act was signed and essentially provide free testing throughout the nation. And it ensured that employees who have to leave work can receive paid leave for a couple of weeks, for a very specific number of weeks. Essentially encourage businesses to make sure that the employee can either go home because they've been affected or they have family member that have been affected and they will still receive the pay leave. That's the summary of the act. And then finally, March 27, which is the act that we're talking about, the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act was passed by the U.S. president. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that we all see how fast the changes in our life occur, right? So we all business-minded people, for the most part, I believe, that are listening tonight, because honestly, you could be doing anything else. You could be watching Hulu, you could be watching Netflix, but you are gathering, listening, taking new information that can affect your business, that can affect your family, that can affect you personally. So this is how fast the circumstances in our lives can change at any time. So just something you want to keep in mind, okay? And this is the reason why I'm giving this timeline overview. So what is the CARE Act? What does it cover? What does it entail? So include items such as the Paycheck Protection Program, right? Loans and guarantee were offered to municipalities, to states, to businesses. The act includes small business as well as individual tax provisions. There are bank regulation provision, there are credit protection provisions, student loan provision, patent, trademark provision. So it's a very all-inclusive, very comprehensive, affect different group of the society type of act. And the goal is really to, one, maintain the rhythm of the economy, making sure that if individual and the family are no longer able to work or are no longer able to afford certain things, they have an alternative means of income, and they still spend the income and making sure that the economy is still operating. Okay, so it's really an emergency cash flow package that was given to small business, large businesses, small government, large government, individual, and that's what I described about every different group of the society. So as I mentioned earlier, I believe most of our audience includes individual families and small business owners. So our focus tonight is really going to be on those two groups of people. So with that in mind, I am going to get started on the individual tax provision. Like I mentioned earlier, my goal is to cover the entire presentation and allow us to also have time to answer questions, because I'm sure there's plenty of questions. So some of the individual provision, we have the cash payment. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard about it by now, and I'm going to go into more detail regarding the cash payment provision. But other less advertised items that a lot of us, individual and small business and people that like to plan ahead should take in consideration include the charitable contribution, which is a tax item, has now been expanded in the sense where typically if you use a standard deduction, you typically are not allowed to itemize once you use the standard deduction. So the change was made so that if you using the standard deduction, you are still also able to deduct your charitable contribution up to $300, for instance. For individuals who have the student loan paid by the employer, typically, if your employer pay your student loan, that is considered income to the employee. The Act went ahead and took that rule away. Essentially saying that for the first $5,250 payment of student loan made by the employer, that amount is no longer considered to be income to the employee. Okay, so essentially reducing the overall tax liability of the employee. A lot of us have retirement funds. The most popular one is the 401k. The Act took away the 10% penalty. So the way the 401k works is you make contribution through your working life, and I believe starting age 70.5, you are allowed to withdraw your contribution, take a distribution without any penalty. So the Act took away the rule of the 10% penalty, essentially allowing you to make a distribution to take the money away from your retirement fund without any penalty. Just to give you some perspective, just imagine you have $20,000 available in your 401k and you decide to take an early distribution of $10,000. Typically, there will be a 10% penalty on that distribution. So you will essentially owe $1,000 on that distribution. And then you will also be paying the federal tax on that distribution. So that $1,000 penalty that you typically pay is no longer applicable. Okay, so that's very important in case you need to use your retirement fund to weather through this difficult moment. That opportunity is given to you. A couple of consumer protection provisions that I thought would be informative to a lot of people. So currently, there is a forbearance on FHA back loan, on federal government back loan, okay? the forbearance essentially means that for the covered period, regardless of your delinquency status, i.e., regardless whether you are behind on your mortgage or not, the lenders are not allowed to come after you and force you to make payments. Okay, and this is for a specific period of time. Also, when it comes to reporting to a credit agency for a very defined period, and I believe it's going to be for the next 4 months, any late payment is not going to be reported to the credit agency. Okay, so these are just some items that you want to take note, and then you want to research on it a little more. And if ever needed and you have to use an argument, just know that the law is on your side. A couple other items. There's a foreclosure stoppage, okay, beginning March 18. And essentially the stoppage applies to any property that has a federally backed loan. For 60 days, the lenders cannot ask you and cannot force you to foreclose on your property. You also have protection against evictions. The protection against eviction, even though it's a nationwide decision, it still has to be put and implemented at the state level. So, for instance, Georgia has not put a moratorium in place for eviction. On the other hand, Atlanta City Mayor has issued an executive order for the next 60 days, essentially stopping any eviction. So what you want to do is essentially check in a county, city, local government where you reside and find out what is currently being applied in regard to evictions. And another good consumer protection provision is the suspension of payment on student loan. So essentially the federal government is not requiring people who have borrowed money to pay for college or graduate school to pay their loan all the way through September. And I also believe the interest on those loans is not being accrued. So again, a couple of consumer items that I thought would be informative and important to a lot of people. The topic on hand, the cash payment to individual. It's been in the news, and there's a lot of literature online, in the news from other professional, finance professionals that you can read about and read through. So I'm really giving you a good summary because I believe that information should be quite popular by now. So the stimulus provide checks in the amount of $1,200 for individual, $2,400 for joint filer. That means married couple filing together, and an additional $500 per child. Okay, and it's based on income threshold, and income threshold being the AGI, and the phase out amount of that income threshold start at $75,000 for individual, $112,500 for head of households, and $150,000 for joint filer. The phase out essentially means that as long as you are making less than $75,000 for individual, you will receive the full $1,200. But once you make anything above the $75,000, the amount that you expect to receive will start decreasing $5 for each 100. Okay, that's the best way to describe it. So that means once you reach $99,000 in AGI income, you've been disqualified. You're not going to get any of the $1,200 that's been given. And for head of a household, that amount is $146,500, and for married couple joint filer, that amount is $198,000. So just to give you a good way to make that calculation, you are single and you have 2 qualifying kids who are your dependents. Okay, as a single person, you qualify for $1,200, For your 2 kids, you qualify for an additional $1,000. That's $500 each, okay? And you are making $120,000 in AGI income. You will receive your full. You will receive a good portion of the credit, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, for the calculation, you essentially start losing $5 for each 100. But the starting point has to be the amount that you qualify for, depending on your filing status. Just remember, it has to be either single, head of household, or it's going to be a joint filer. So these are the threshold amount that you want to keep in mind. So a couple of items to remember regarding this credit. So because we are in April, we are in literally, I want to say, we just finished the first quarter of 2020. That credit amount is based on your 2020 income. But because there's really not any information available for the 2020 income, we're only at the first quarter. The government essentially decided to use previously available information. And that previously available information would be your 2018 tax return or your 2019 tax return if you went ahead and filed it. And that's why that amount is considered to be an advance, essentially. However, for the purpose of being fair, you will not be required to reimburse that amount once you file your 2020 tax return and you happen to qualify for less amount that you were supposed to. All right. So just a quick example, in 2018 or 2019, you qualify for the amount, meaning as a single filer, you make less than 75,000, you're making 60,000. Okay. 2020 comes around, your skill got better, or you find a great opportunity. And now you file your tax return in January of 2020, and you have income of say 120,000. So technically, you should not qualify, but the expectation is that they are not going to ask you to reimburse that money. All right. So that's what's been explained at the moment. Like I mentioned earlier, for 2018 and 2019, those are the reference year that we're going to use as far as the tax return are concerned. So the expectation is for people to, one, either have the tax return for either of those years, and two, for those who have not filed a tax return, for instance, for senior citizen who makes less than the standard deduction, and typically will not file the tax return, they will use the Social Security information. So Form SSA 1099 or the Form RRB 1099, for instance. And the credit is also not provided for anybody that can be claimed as a dependent. So any adults or that's a dependent and in another person's tax return will not be able to receive that credit. So another item to keep in mind. And also just keep in mind that this is a fast moving and fast changing set of information. The reason why I say that is, as of today, at some point, there was a requirement for those senior citizens who have not been filing their tax return. There was a requirement that they go ahead and file the tax return for either 2018 or 2019 in order to receive the check payment. But I believe today at noon, the U.S. Treasury made a decision, reverse the course, saying, okay, we're not going to require you to file your 2019, 2018 tax return. So all that to say, the information is changing, and you want to constantly gather the most updated information if you can, or just reach out, ask questions to people around you, ask questions to professionals like myself. And there's also a lot of material on government agency websites such as the IRS. Those are our sources of information. Okay, so the next topic is going to be the loan facilities that were provided to small business. And I thought it would be a good exercise to compare the two most applicable loan facilities that are offered by the Small Business Administration. One being the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, we abbreviate it as EIDL, and the other one being the Paycheck Protection Program loan. Okay, so very simple comparison, and I try to share as much information as I could find regarding each program. And the quick item I can share is that you need to make the decision that this is a program that will work for you. Okay, you have to make an assessment of your business activity and make the determination that at this point, as of today, over the next 2-3 weeks, over the next 3 months, you do not anticipate having any income. You do not anticipate making any sales. You do not anticipate having any paying clients. If that's the case, this is for you. All right. You have those two facilities available. One thing we need to remember regarding this current crisis is that there's a lot of liquidity available. Lenders, bank, the government want to get money to you because the money is cheap and it's available. By comparison to the 2008 crisis, there was a crisis of liquidity. Nobody was lending any money. So as much as you can, if you need it, you have to be responsible because it is a loan. You will have to repay, depending on the program, you will have to repay it. Depending on how you use it, you may have to repay 100% of it, or you may have to repay 75, 80% of it. And we're going to go through the detail on when do you get any forgiveness. But I just want to make sure I highlight the fact that you need to make an assessment of the health of your current business, and you need to make an assessment of your need over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, and make the decision whether or not these are facilities that might be beneficial to you, to your family, or to your business. Okay. So let me get started. Who is the lender for the EIDL? That would be the SBA, and for the PPP, that will be the lenders that work with the SBA. So the SBA has a network of qualified and authorized lender, credit institution, and they work with the SBA processing your application, making specific requirement on the type of documentation you need to share with them. That way they are able to process your loan application. In regard to the EIDL, when can you apply? As of today, you can apply, okay? And for the PPP, starting April 3rd, which is tomorrow, small business and sole proprietorship can apply. You will have to go to the SBA website and find the list of authorized lender and contact them and provide them any documentation that they will require, fill out the application, make a decision on the amount that you think you need. And we're also going to go through the authorized amount that you can borrow. So just to go through when you can apply, April 3rd for small business proprietorship, April 10th for independent contractor and other regulated lender. Who can apply? That's been a very touchy subject. So a small business for these two loans is considered to be any business that has a maximum of 500 employees. And also, they have to be in business as of February 15, 2020. Another item is they can be for-profit business. They can also be 501c3 nonprofit business, okay? Nonprofit organization, I'm sorry. So those two type of entity are qualified to apply for those two loans. A lot of detail here, and just know that once you make the choice to look into those loans, as a small business, and what I'm thinking about small business, and I'm thinking about the audience that I have tonight, most of you are sole proprietorship, most of you are freelancers, most of you are independent contractor. Just know that the rule of thumb is you qualify for those loans. Just know that the rule of thumb is you want to make sure that you prepare your profit and loss statement. If you file for your tax return in 2019, have your tax return ready. If you get paid with 1099 miscellaneous, have the copy of your 1099 ready. All of them are documents that's going to be required from you. Other items here. What's the maximum amount of the loan? So for the EIDL, the maximum is $2 million. Right now, you still get a $10,000 advance when you apply, and the advance will be distributed within 3 days, and you're not required to repay this advance. So if you are in a dire need of cash flow as a small business, I would strongly advise you to go ahead and apply. And it's a very straightforward process. You determine the amount that you need, and you get your $10,000 cash advance by Tuesday, according to the SBA. Okay. If you need it, please go ahead and apply for it. For the PPP, the maximum loan is either $10 million, i.e. the lesser of $10 million, or 2.5 times the average payroll that you had as a small business. For business that have employees, there's a very specific calculation that needs to take place. So you need to identify your number of employees, and I'm going through a lot of this detail here. So you have to be in business for at least since February 15, 2019, and there's a specific calculation that comes in the amount of payroll that you can use in order to make that loan application. But in my opinion, many of my audience are sole proprietor. They are contractors. They are freelancers. So with that say, I do not expect you to have employees. I expect you to be paid with 1099 miscellaneous. I expect you to have profit and loss statement. I expect you to receive your payment through cash, but as long as you record those transactions in a book of business, and also as long as those payments are passed through your business account, then you have a record of income. Because as a small business and as a sole proprietorship, your payroll value is really the net profit. So just think about it. As a small business, you get all your income from many sources, from many clients. Then you account for all your business deduction, and the net amount that you get at the end, that's a net profit. That net profit is what constitutes your payroll. So as a quick example, I have $100,000 in sales. I have $60 in total business deduction. That leaves me with a net profit of $40,000. According to the slide earlier, the most I can apply is 2.5 times my quote-unquote payroll. So that's 40,000 multiplied by 2.5. That's the amount that I'll be able to apply for. Okay. And of course, you have to be able to show evidence of everything that I just mentioned. I will have to provide the tax return, and it really depends on the lender. And I think I'm jumping ahead here because let's see. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead. So depending on the lender, the specific document that they will ask you. Some will ask you for the tax return, some will ask you for the profit and loss statement, and also depend on the amount that you are applying for. But the annual interest rates for each type of program for the PPP will not exceed 4%. For the EIDL, it will be 3.5 and 2.75 for nonprofit, for instance. The term of the loan, 30 years and 10 years for the PPP. When is the first payment due for the PPP? There's a deferral period of 6 months. For the EIDL, that deferral is about a year, okay? Now, and this is where it gets tricky, because depending on the usage that you make of the loan, 100% of the loan might be, you may need to reimburse 100% of the loan, or a portion of it would be forgiven for, okay? So how do you get forgiveness? You have to document that you spent the loan on specific items, and those includes payment to employee, health insurance premium, payment for your rent, utilities. Remember, the overall goal of the government here is to make sure that the economy in general is still operating. So if you have money to pay utilities, pay the rent, then the lender on the other end also have money to spend on grocery, have money to pay for their own health insurance. So essentially the wheel will keep turning. And that's the reason why they will go ahead and forgive some of the loan that you took out. So again, the EIDL does not offer any forgiveness. The only item that they offer would be the $10,000 advance, and you're not going to be required to repay for it. But the PPP does offer forgiveness if you spend the money within the covered period and you follow a very specific rule on which item you spend the money on. Again, you will have to have a detailed discussion with the lender that you're going to work with and make sure you understand what are their requirements, because it's not the SBA forgiving the loan, it's the lender that's forgiving portion of the loan with the agreement of the SBA. So the lender will have to approve the information that you provide in them, okay? Collateral. For the EIDL, there is a collateral requirement. For the PPP, there's no collateral requirement. Personal guarantee. For the PPP, there's no personal guarantee requirement. For the economic injury disaster loan, as long as the loan is under $200,000, there's no personal guarantee requirement. Once you go above that amount, there are specific requirements, and you can read through them. And finally, do you need to file your 2019 tax return? Again, on the PPP, it depends on the lender, because the lender is the one providing the loan and approving the loan. And for the EIDL, they may be tax return filing requirement, but there's definitely some IRS form that you have to prepare. If you get to the point where you need to confirm what document are required, please reach out to me. Please talk to your SBA officer. Please reach out to financial professional, and we will make that determination. But all that to say, there's a lot of opportunity for small business owner, for family, for individual to weather through this difficult situation. Reach out, ask the right question, have your document ready, be ready to answer some personal or difficult questions sometime, but you can weather through it. And let's see here. Okay, that leaves us with roughly, I want to say 15 minutes of questions. Angel, you want to take it over?
Sure. So 1 second, I'm going to try to take back over so if you could, can you stop the share on your screen?
Sure.
And then I should be able to take it back. Okay, so.
Okay, I just stopped it. All right.
Awesome. And then let's see. So before we get into questions, I do want to quickly go over some consumer buying trends. Let me make sure that you guys are able to see that because there is a little bit of a delay on our in from Zoom to YouTube. So I want to make sure, okay, you guys can see me right now. Cool. Okay, so you stopped your share, Yohan?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So you should be able to see me share. Okay, there we go. It's there. So I actually just went ahead and updated the description for this video so that you are able to see these documents. So I just want to go over them very quickly. I would encourage all of the folks who are entrepreneurs on this call to kind of pay attention and start looking into some of the consumer buying trends reports, especially if you're trying to keep your business going during this time period. So I pulled a couple here and I did link them in the description box. So go ahead and check those out, y'all, and see if any of them apply to you. And I'll just go over a couple of the high level points, and then we will go into some of the questions from the chat. And then also, if you registered on Eventbrite, then you were able to ask questions there. So I kind of highlighted some questions that I noticed were coming up frequently there as well. So the first report that I'm going to kind of talk about is by Agility PR Solutions. They talk about consumer buying behavior. So this is super important as we continuously hear. These are unprecedented times. So we don't know what people are going to do or how people are going to spend money. It's nothing to look at from the past to kind of indicate what would happen in the future. So of course, some of these trends highlight like the level of worry that people have around spending. But then also I found this particular report interesting because, and let me see if I can make this full screen for you guys. Okay, so it'll show up full screen in a couple of seconds for the folks on YouTube. So this report actually separates products into two tiers. So one is like your survival products, which are food, beverages, personal care items, medicine, and then your sanity products, which are alcoholic beverages, entertainment, beauty products, electronics. So these are like the products you use to cope with all this, basically. So when you're thinking about from a business perspective, how you can adapt your business within this time period, or even possibly invest in new business, these are important things to look at. Folks are delaying purchases of big items, home, cars, trips, luxury goods, things like that. Folks are going to trusted brands, especially for their sanitation products. People have some sort of sensitivity to products abroad because of different countries having very high rates of the virus. So of course, so many of our products come from China, and folks are a little bit concerned about purchasing products from there. And I linked this report, so I definitely encourage you check out the description, check out this report. The second report that I'll quickly address is this consumer sentiment snapshot, setting the baseline. So this is very general. Like a lot of this research has only been done in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So things are constantly evolving and new research reports are coming out, and these companies are putting together these reports very quickly. And this report is from BCG. So they talk a little bit about the fear, what elements of fear kind of are driving buying behavior the most, and then kind of talking about the mindsets of people in regards to spending. So some people speak about aspirational trends. So more folks are buying organic food and thinking about being healthy as something they may have been putting off doing for themselves, but also as a survival mechanism to keep themselves safe and sane during this time period. It talks a lot about traveling, different areas. So this report is kind of unique because it actually talks about different industries and the way that consumers are responding to these industries. So I don't want to spend too much time going through this, but I encourage you to take a look at these reports. They are linked again in the description box. Take a look at them, look up some additional ones as well, and just see how your industry is affected by this and possibly how you can mold your business to fit kind of consumer buying trends presently. So let me stop the share and you should be able to see my face again soon. 1 second. So let me make sure Uh-oh, that's not right. Gallery view. So you should be able to see my face again shortly. There is a couple of seconds of delay. I will start with some questions that have pulled up. So the first question I want to address is from the Eventbrite, the folks who register in Eventbrite. So folks had a lot of questions around investing in stock. And I think some people kind of want to know what your personal opinions are about investing in stock and how to do so safely at this time. And yeah, I think that's mostly where it was a combination of like how to kind of protect any stock investment they may want to do, as well as like, do you recommend investing in the market at this time?
Yeah, I totally encourage anybody who has any spare income to invest in the stock market at this time. So two things. If you have retirement, I strongly advise that you talk to your financial advisor or to your investment advisor to make sure that your portfolio is balanced in order to weather through the difficult time that the market is experiencing. The idea here is to move your investment from high risk stocks such as technology or some of the blue chips to more stable bonds or cash investment. Of course, the returns are lower, but they are a lot more constant. So these are for people who are close to retire or not very far from it, in order to maintain the overall value of your retirement portfolio. If you're still fairly young and you still can allow yourself to take some chances, I would highly encourage you still to talk to your financial advisor in order to identify those areas where they may have been an hindrance for investment because of the cost of buying some of those shares, right? You want to think about any company that in the past was too high to purchase because of the amount of investment that you're making. If the share were $150, I want to say 3-4 months ago, and now they are selling for $50, yes, please, by all means, go ahead and invest in those type of company. And now for those who have never done any stock investment and do have some spare savings and feel like this is money that they can invest in and it's not going to be any money that they will need over the next couple of weeks, I will also strongly encourage you to enter the stock market. And you have many investment company out there, E-Trade, Robinhood. They are very user-friendly. Those are trading platforms. They are online based. You can do a lot of research. You can do a lot of transaction on your own, and the overall cost is very minimal. The strategy, I want to say I'm not an investment advisor, just to put it out there, just to make it clear. So I'm not advising you on what investment you should be making. This is my personal approach. This is my personal opinion about it. You want to research on those companies that are anticipated to rebound tremendously once the rough patch is over. For instance, do we think the oil price will go back up? Do we think people are going to start driving again? Do we think factories are going to start running again? Most likely. Does that mean you should invest in ExxonMobil or BP stocks? Maybe. So those are some of the research you want to make. Over the next couple of months, what are the type of company that are going to have an impact on our lifestyle? A lot of us are staying home right now. A lot of us are choosing to order everything online and be delivered instead of going out. Do the research on the type of company that's going to be making those delivery, for instance. Do research on the type of company that's facilitating the communication to take place. I would take the example of Zoom, which is what we're using. Is Zoom still a good investment? Yes. But of course, I know they had some issue regarding privacy recently. So those are all the items that you want to take in consideration. So short answer, please go ahead and do your research. Short answer, please go ahead and invest in the stock market. I think this is a great opportunity.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for addressing that question. So another question that I saw was around health insurance and penalties around health insurance. And I'm not sure, has that like been addressed thus far as like if that will change for folks who are filing next year for this year?
So far, the only item I've read has to do with the health saving account. So the health saving account, the HSA typically come with specific rules on what you can use that money for, and what they call telehealth. So essentially, being able to see a healthcare provider through a phone application or from a distance are now considered to be eligible item that you can pay for using your HSA account. Okay. That's the only item that I'm aware of so far.
Yeah. I think that question is around, folks are unemployed, then they don't have health insurance, and, that whole deal, would that be accommodated? So you're saying not that you know of at this moment. Okay, yeah. So the last question I think I want to address from these questions, I want to address any more. I highlighted a few. I think some folks wanted to know some tips on saving money. So I think that question may be around where to save it. What are some things that they can do as far as interest is concerned, since a lot of that has changed. Interest rates are much lower right now. And just, I guess, your overall, just words of wisdom on saving right now.
Well, the rule of thumb is you can save wherever you can. And that means you want to reassess your budgeting approach to a lot of activities. So that means you want to be able to reach out to utilities, reach out to credit card company, all those usual actors where you tend to spend the bulk of your money, and see what is it they can do for you. Not that you don't want to pay them, not that you want to put a stoppage to the service, but you just want to be able to get a better value for the amount that you're paying, or a lesser amount for the same type of service. So that will be the starting point. So the idea is really to, quote unquote, stretch the dollar, get as much as you can with the same amount, with the goal that if things do not improve, although I'm very positive that they will, but if, God forbid, they do not improve, you are better placed to manage and weather through the rough patch.
Okay. So I have heard that recommendation elsewhere too, of calling all, and that's something I was like putting back on my own to-do list. Like, I need to do that, calling all of my service providers and seeing, what I can work out to lower those payments or lower the interest on any debt. So for folks who are tuning in on the live chat, please hop in the comments and share any of your questions. I'm going to start addressing those right now. So the first question we have is from Ulrich. He asks, and this may relate to the question we just talked about, any adjustment on car note or mortgage interest? Is that something you have to just negotiate with your lender?
Yes, it's something that you just have to negotiate with your lender.
Okay.
The CARE Act only provides you protection as far as the reporting of any late payment. That reporting is not going to be taking place over the next couple of months. But if you want to get a lower rate, and remember, if you have a decent credit and you can refinance, please go ahead and do so. The borrowing rates are fairly slow, very low right now. So you want to take advantage of it. And for a lot of credit and lender provider, they also, I believe, would be more than willing to work with you and make sure that you remain a customer.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So do we have, so some folks also, I'll just read some of the commentary as well for folks who are active in the chat. Thank you so much. We have some folks that definitely said the PowerPoint was very informative for them because it's so much information and it's so overwhelming. It's hard to know what applies to you, what doesn't. Are there certain places that you would recommend for us to go to get, I can also add those to the description for this live stream for folks who may be watching the replay or just kind of want to rewatch this again because there was so much information that you shared. So yeah, where do you recommend people to go for resources to stay up to date on what's happening?
So official government website, the IRS website, the Small Business Administration website. I'm going to personally share this presentation on my business website. So go to my website, www.minsilitax.com, and you will have access to the information that I shared earlier. And please feel free to reach out to me, make an appointment if you think some of the items that I mentioned earlier may qualify to you, and we would talk and make the determination whether or not they qualify. And I don't mind sharing information. I believe is somehow my calling. And as long as you are able to pull through and make a better life for yourself, then I know it's going to come back to me some other way. So by all means, reach out, ask questions, send me an email. And I believe, I mean, I didn't share that, but I do have my contact on the presentation, but I'm sure that's something you're going to share with them at some point.
It is also in the description for this video. You can access Yohan's personal website or the website for his business. So that website link is there. So you will be adding the PowerPoint soon to that site. So folks who might want to go and just check it out and look at it on their own can definitely do that. So let me make sure we don't have any other questions in the chat. I'm also going to review again, kind of just quickly the questions that came in from Eventbrite and just make sure there wasn't anything that I think would be helpful. So this person asks, should I withdraw from my 401k to cover my living expenses during this pandemic? I'm eligible to withdraw in 2 years.
So according to the act that just passed, you may withdraw and you're not going to incur the, you can withdraw up to 100,000 and you're not going to incur the 10% penalty. Should you do so? I would say,
even if they withdraw early,
necessary, even if they withdraw early, the penalty apply for early withdrawal. That's really what it's about.
Right.
As long as you're not eligible, yeah, there's typically there will be a penalty, but now that penalty has been waived.
Awesome.
But if the question is to say, should you go ahead and do so if you need it? Unfortunately, it's very difficult to make a determination whether or not you need it, but if it's absolutely needed, that penalty is not going to be applied to your withdrawal.
Awesome. Okay, so checking the chat one more time. So it looks like, I think we've answered all the questions. And what time? Oh, we're just a little bit over time, you guys. It was some juicy information. So we're a little bit over time, but it looks like we've answered a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Yohan, for joining us, taking time out of your schedule to talk to us. Like, you really helped clarify, just from reading the comments that people have, you really helped clarify a lot of the very difficult and just this huge heap of information that we're getting right now. So I truly appreciate that. I definitely want to invite you maybe in a few weeks. We can do this again and just talk about whatever changes. It seems, as you told me earlier, there seem to be changes every day. So we can talk about like whatever challenges or changes are moving forward. And I just want to thank you all again for joining us tonight. This replay will be available on my channel. She is Angel Mills. I'll also give it to Yohan so he can share it with his audience as well. And check out the description. Several of the links of the things that we've mentioned are there. If you are in Metro Atlanta, you can join the Atlanta Business Strategy Meetup. That link is in the description. Check us out. Comes whenever we're able to meet in person. You can come and see us. But until then, we'll be online each month, so you can join us there. I also, for my business, host workshops every day. Or not every day. Why did I say that? Not every day. Twice a week, I host different workshops, live chats like this. And I talk about various topics around branding and marketing your business, and definitely being agile in this new time period that we have right now. So because you registered for this, if you registered on Eventbrite, you will definitely be getting information about that as well. And Yohan, I want to give you the opportunity, if there's anything else you want to add, if you want to go ahead and re-say your contact information for folks to contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to share those information. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a fast-moving set of information. And I hope people do find the value, and they can use it to improve the current conditions and the family condition as well. I'm reachable by email. So my email is Yohan Minsili at MINSILICPA.com, and also reachable by phone number. I believe you're going to share that information, but I can go ahead and give it. It's 404-918-3594. And you can also go to my website, that's www.minsilitax.com, and you can make an appointment, and I will reach out to you as soon as I get a notification for an appointment. I'm based in Atlanta, for those who are in Atlanta. Unfortunately, we cannot meet at the moment, but I do have a Zoom account. So it will just take a matter of setting up a virtual meeting, and we can have a productive discussion over the internet. Again, it's been my pleasure sharing those different type of information, and I truly hope everybody found useful value to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm going to make sure we didn't have any last minute questions. So it looks like we're good. Thank you guys again for joining. Please enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll be seeing you soon. Have a good one.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye-bye.